New revelations on former President Biden's decline while he was in office, supposed to be doing his job for America. And new information now on the people in his inner circle and how the cover-up actually operated. People across the political spectrum are now recognizing what many Americans could see with their own eyes. We were reporting it. President Trump showing some sympathy and also pointing the finger at those around the former president. He posted this. Joe Biden was not for open borders. He never talked about open borders, where criminals of all kinds, shapes, and sizes can flow into our country at will. It was the people that knew he was cognitively impaired that took over the auto pen. They stole the presidency of the United States and put us in great danger. This is treason at the highest level. Flashback now to the legacy media's complete denial of the president's cognitive decline. Remember this.
Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever.
Well, he awkwardly tried to defend those earlier this week.
Looking back at that, do you say, well, it was misleading to say best Biden ever without caveating it and say, except on the days when he's not the best Biden ever?
Well, but I never saw those days personally.
Well, you did, because you saw him address a dead congresswoman, and you saw him in South Carolina.
A dead congresswoman, yeah.
There were plenty of days in public when he was not the best Biden ever, and
yeah,
of course,
he stumbled and bumbled around, Mark. I mean, yeah, he certainly did.
Well, it was his job as a host, as a journalist, to be able to see things. I guess he was just as imperceptive as the president. Oh, my goodness. Senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy. Peter.
And Harris, this is no longer just a story about transparency, because President Trump is accusing senior aides that worked here until just a couple months ago, the beginning of this year, of manipulating an ailing president for their own gain.
They didn't want him, and they were disappointed in getting him because they wanted Bernie Sanders. And then after about 2 weeks, they said, wait a minute, this is a gift. He'll do anything. We're going to use the auto pen. And they used the auto pen and everything. He didn't approve this stuff.
We have separately now been told by the newly formed personal office of the former president that Biden's last PSA, or prostate-specific antigen test, was in 2014 when he was still the vice president, and at the time, no prostate cancer was detected.
Now, it is true that a lot of people recommend not doing a prostate-specific antigen after 70, but President Biden's been in public life a very long time. He was vice president and had a lot of exams under 70, so it's a little surprising that they didn't do it, and maybe President Biden decided he didn't want to test. Many men do decide they don't want a PSA.
And when it comes to President Biden's decline, the official word from Biden world about all these news stories is that nothing has been revealed this week that shows that President Biden was anything but an effective president, whereas the official word from officials here now is that there was a big cover-up. Harris.
Well, okay, two things can be true, but not if they're opposite. You got to pick a lane here. We'll pick the truth. Peter, thank you. Power panel now in focus. Cory Gardner, former Republican senator of Colorado and chairman of the Senate Leadership Fund, and Jose Aristimuno, former DNC deputy press secretary. Gentlemen, great to see you. You. Senator Gardner, there is a reason why this is so critical that we don't let go of this at this moment. In your opinion, what would that be?
Well, if you read some of the excerpts of the books that are now coming out, you see phrases like the White House, the presidency was operated like a board of directors. If the presidency was operated like a board of directors and Joe Biden was simply a member of the board, who is the CEO? This is beyond just Sleepy Joe. This is beyond putting a do not disturb sign on the Oval Office. This goes to the heart, Harris, of a very serious constitutional question. Who was the acting president of the United States? Who was leading this country? If he was just a board member, other people were executing directives at their own will, operating the auto pen at their own will, who was in charge? Remember, Under Donald Trump, how many reporters, including some who are now writing books about Joe Biden's acuity, they were all asking, talking, rumoring about the 25th Amendment. Were the members of the so-called board of directors running this country, were they talking about the 25th Amendment? If they were not, why were they not talking about it? Because it is clear that there was a significant constitutional crisis taking place, that the President of the United States lacked the capacity to be the president of this country.
Well, it's interesting because Democrats talked about a constitutional crisis.
They certainly did.
I don't think this was the one they meant. Opinion piece in the New York Times today has this headline: Biden is a scapegoat. The Democrats are the problem. An excerpt references that new books on Biden's decline and the cover-up, quote, the authors depict a Democratic Party, a White House staff, and a Biden campaign that, though aware of the weakness, forgetfulness, confusion, and incoherence afflicting Biden, remained largely silent about it. They opted instead to accommodate and rationalize anyone questioning or even inquiring about Biden's physical or mental competence faced intense pushback from the White House. Jose, first of all, your reaction to just that piece.
Look, it's concerning, Harris. I think first and foremost, I don't have doubt in my mind that President Biden had the last word on the major decisions and all the decisions that he had to make as president. But I am concerning about even the cancer, for example. I think it's very concerning that they now announced that he had cancer stage 4 or an aggressive form of cancer. How did they know, the White House, with such advanced technology and medicine, how did they not check on the president pretty regularly, right? So the timing of the cancer diagnosis, for me, it is a little strange, and I think we demand answers. But on the cognitive decline, I think there are exaggerations. I think obviously the Republicans want to take advantage of the moment. Democrats should address it. They should be held accountable if people were hiding some of the situations about the president. But we ought to move forward as a party and talk about the issues that the American people care about: border security, the economy, you name it.
Well, and I would say with Republicans, why not get an investigation going here? I mean, look, Jose's asking legitimate questions about this. Everybody is. Why not?
There must be an investigation. Look, maybe Joe Biden had the last word, but what was that last word? I don't remember. I can't recall. Not knowing the dates of something, not being able to put together a coherent sentence in that last word, so somebody else put a document in front of it and he signed it in front of him and he signed it. These are serious questions that require an investigation, not a Republican-driven-led investigation, but a Democrat-Republican serious look at the last 4 years of the president's administration. What happened? Who was in charge? Who was leading? And who was calling the shots? The American people deserve that. In fact, our Constitution demands that.
Right. Well, it's possible that there was some complicity even among Democrats on the Hill. I think Republicans have to get this started because these unelected officials potentially behind the scenes certainly weren't doing the will of the people. They weren't chosen to do it. We need to know who they were. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kayleigh McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.